Good speaking with you today, Carlos. Today's topic is demand management and collaborative S&OP software. My first question is, can you talk about why S&OP and collaborative S&OP are still a challenge today in these times?
Yes. Good morning, Dustin, and thank you for the interview. Thank you for the question. The challenge of S&OP in current days is tied up, at least in South America. I will give more examples from my region here. Is that many companies have a clear S&OP process as a whole. Many companies try to approach S&OP more as a review of sales plan and demand side, and not integrate this analysis with the supply side of the process. Sometimes there is some lack of maturity in the stakeholder levels to understand the kind of contribution they can provide for such an important process from a company. So in many ways, what you see is a process called S&OP in the companies, supported many times by spreadsheets, try to review numbers against budget, or making simple forecasts, and not understanding that it's very important for a supply S&OP process to address three basic topics. First, it's about match demand and supply, and not only talking about demand. Secondly, it's important to create what-if scenarios in which we can address constraints and opportunities that might show up to improve the revenue of. And the third one, and it's very important, is get a consensus. Sales, marketing, finance, operations, and supply chain need to end this process looking for the same number to start their responsibility.
Can you talk about what are the value propositions of collaborative S&OP?
Since I think 10, 15 years from now, the word collaboration start to show up more strongly as an improvement in the framework of the S&OP process. The basic value proposition of collaborative S&OP is try to get more insights in the scenario analysis and in demand analysis. Once we have markets with more volatility, with shorter cycle times of the products, with strong competition in the distribution channels. So only to run statistical forecasts or try to reproduce patterns that was discussed process is not a reliable way to capture what is going on in the market at that moment. So and the main challenge to create a real environmental for collaborative S&OP is to make this workflow run smoothly from the planning side until all the actors that may collaborate. Some companies have dozens of people in the field, in the sales organization, that need to be asked for what are their view, what are the trade promotions that they are seeing necessary, what are the competition are doing, and catch this information and bring very fast back for the workflow in order that you can cycle the entire S&OP process in a shorter period of time. And this is a challenge because you cannot do this just using traditional standard transactions of the ERP systems.
And why do you separate the discussion between demand management and S&OP as different topics?
Basically, because demand management demand management, it's a little broader umbrella, encompass not only the S&OP framework, but once we talk about demand management, we need to talk about inventory policy, replenishment process in the distribution channel. So to improve the fill rate, the perfect order fulfillment, it's important also that the logistics operations, the replenishment process in place address the complexity of the network and the size of the portfolio that we need to deliver for the customers. Also, under the demand management scope, there is a topic that sometimes is forgotten or not well addressed by companies, that is portfolio management, in which the company needs to define what's the best moment for launching products and phase out products, not create too much complexity. Many companies in the past learned that too much complexity, too much options just create cost and don't add value for the value chain. So it's very important. It's not part of the S&OP process, but if it's managed poorly, damage and hurt very strongly the S&OP process. So to summarize, on demand management, it's not only S&OP that we have as a framework, but also the replenishment strategy adopted by the company and the portfolio management approach that they have to try to optimize portfolio for each distribution channel and to define the right moment to introduce a product for the go-to-market of the product and the phase-out of the product without risks of disruption or obsolete parts along the supply chain. This is why I separate demand management and S&OP as different scopes. S&OP is part of the demand management process. It's a proved best practice that can improve strongly the demand management process, but is not the only framework that needs to be used to improve the delivery and to attend the demand of the customer.
And can you provide a brief background of yourself?
Yes, sure. My background, I have 2 degrees, one in engineering and other in business administration, both here in Brazil. Then I took my master degree on industrial engineering, more specifically on supply chain and operations research. After that, I worked for 15 years as a supply chain manager, most of the time in the automotive industry. And since 2012, I run a software and consultant company on supply chain and S&OP software.
Thanks, Carlos, for sharing today.